Hey everyone, this is Cyber Power of Tigray Media. This is your host, Mika Tigray. I'm coming to you at a random time, and for that, I apologize. But there are a number of things that we all have seen and follow through various social media. That includes the propaganda machine, the Amhara mass media, the Ethiopian media, and among the Eritrean media and various other things that I want to talk about. I will be showing you a few clips of the Amhara mass media that many of you might have already seen, and some from other pro-TDF media like Digital Wayane and Tigray Television. We know that for a number of days now, Ethiopia's failure to protect all its citizens, particularly the people of Tigray origin, Ethiopians, as of now, they have faced tremendous chaos throughout Ethiopia, and the amount of atrocity that have taken place in Tigray has been interpreted as genocide. The topics for tonight is Ethiopia's failure to win a war in Tigray. While Tigray and the people of Tigray are the victims of the heinous crime committed by the Eritrean military, by the Ethiopian military, and by the Amhara Fana and Amhara militia, the Amhara media is betraying, contrarily to the fact that it is TDF or TPLF, the aggressor, that the Tigrayan Defense Forces, who simply are fighting for their existence and survival, are the ones committing theft and other means in the Amhara region, when the fact on the ground is that it is in fact the Ethiopian military led by the Eritrean mercenaries stealing, raping, and doing so many atrocities and crime against humanity. They are trying to flip the coin and blame it on the victims. So tonight, the various topics that I wanted to talk to you about is the ongoing war in Tigray and in the Amhara region. Somehow they want us to believe that the war that's been going on was provoked by Tigray. It was not. Let it be clear. The attack on Tigray was unprovoked, was created by Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia and Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea. Those two leaders have the thickest blood on their hand by ordering massacre against the region of Tigray. Let us not be forgetting the fact that over 700 people in the city of Aksum were executed by Eritrean mercenaries, by Eritrean soldiers. Let us not forget the Maikadra atrocities that was committed by the Amhara militia, by the Amhara Fana, were the facts that were twisted and turned to blame it on Tagaru, on the people of Tigray. So we, the people of Tigray, Tigrayan Americans like myself, refuse to accept the lies created by the former country called Ethiopia and by the dictator Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea. So to the viewers out there, Primarily, I come out to you in English because for those of you who are passionate, who love humanity, who respect all people to exist, to be respected, for girls and women, their bodies to be respected, I speak to you in the language that you understand. Perhaps some of you do speak Tigrinya and Amharic. That's wonderful. And Arabic. But let me tell you something. When the Amhara propaganda machine accuses me of, I get paid by TPLF, it gives me even more pride to speak for my people, for the people of Tigray. You see, when I wear this, it reminds me of the heroes of Tigray, from my brothers to my fathers and grandfathers and all the heroes of Tigray who fought and defended the freedom. So I will not allow an Amhara mass media and Eritrean media continue with the false propaganda. Let me show you one clip in the last 24 hours. And I'm going to talk to you about Abiy Ahmed meeting the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. I'm going to talk about what South Sudan has been discussing with Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia. I'm going to talk to you about the 117,000 soldiers that were just deployed in the last week into Desse and what their agenda is through Afar, through other area of Ethiopia, and what the Eritrean army is doing alongside with the Ethiopian military, with the Amhara militia, and what the Eritrean government is doing in Kassala, Sudan, because he fears that Humara is a corridor that the Tigray people needs to bring food and medicine to save the people of Tigray, who by their fault of not their own are dying of starvation and the basic needs of food and medicine that has been blocked for 11 months. So first, I would like you to take a look at this false propaganda by the Amhara mass media, and I'll come back and say my thought behind it and the propaganda that will not fly. The final planning for Ethiopia to win and to brag how they are ready to go to Mekelle, take over Tigray, take over Mekelle. In fact, Abiy Ahmed is actually begging all of a sudden for mercy for him to survive because he knows his days are numbered. So what does he do? He has reached out to various African leaders, the very head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that we saw that has been under house arrest. Prime Minister, who's not elected, but uses the word prime minister, a dictator in Ethiopia, has visited the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, who has been in house arrest for the past 11 months, and is preparing him to mediate between him and the Tigray president of Tigray, Dr. Debretsion. It is very, very interesting to me. A few days ago, he claimed that he won an election when in most part of Ethiopia, election wasn't actually even held. There's a discussion how they're saying this is the first time Ethiopian politicians from various aspects have participated in the election and how it was democratic example for Ethiopia. Shame on those who would dare to say this when their fellow Ethiopians in Tigray and throughout Ethiopia are being targeted based on ethnicity. So here is the first thing that I want you to take a look at. This is the Amhara media that has been talking about how they're winning the war when in fact it's the opposite. So take a listen and we'll talk about it. It's in Amharic, so I'm going to try to summarize it in English after we hear the video that I'm proposing for you guys to listen to.
በቀደምት ሳምንታት ዝግጅቶቻችን አሸባሪው ህወሓት ወረራ በፈጸመባቸው የደቡብ ጎንደር ዞን በጉና በጌ ምድር እስከ ደብረዘቢጥ የመከላከያ ሰራዊት ልዩ ኃይል ፖሊስና ሚሊሻ ፋኖ ያደረጉት የህልውና ዘመቻ ተጋድሎን ወደናንተ ማድረሳችን ይታወቃል። በዛሬው ዝግጅታችን ደግሞ ከደብረዘቢጥ እስከ ገረገራ ድረስ ህወሓትን የመመከት ትግልን እናስቃኛቸዋለን። አብራችሁን ቆዩ። ከፈጠራ የውሸት ወሬ ጀምሮ ህዝብን በመግደልና በመድፈር እንዲሁም በማፈናቀል ዘረፋን በመፈጸም ህብረተሰቡን ማሸበር የዕለት ተዕለት ተልዕኮው ያደረገው አሸባሪው ህወሓት ወረራ በፈጸመባቸው ሰሜን ወሎ ዞን ከደብረዘቢጥ እስከ ገረገራ ድረስ እስኪወገድ እኩይ ተግባሩን ሲፈጽም ቆይቷል። ሀገር ሲደፈር የአንድ ሳንቲም ሁለት ገጽታ ሆነው የሚንቀሳቀሱት የመከላከያ ሰራዊት የልዩ ኃይል
So imagine the propaganda. It was only like 3-4 months ago that we heard from the various Ethiopian generals and armed forces that there is no TPLF, that they have destroyed them, they have captured and killed many of them. That Getachew Reda has died like I think 7 or 8 times. Somehow he must be living a life of a cat where he can't die until they get him for the 9th time. My point is, these sort of propaganda, these sort of lies that we have heard over and over in the past are not the solution for the ongoing crisis in the region. The failure for Abiy Ahmed to understand about politics, to treat the nation with respect and dignity for the people of Tigray, it is obvious that many Ethiopians fail to understand or fail to look at the truth on the ground and to say, this is not what Ethiopia needs. It is really interesting to me for millions of Amhara people around the globe, including tomorrow, for many of you, it's already today, Monday, they're holding an Eritrean community and Ethiopian community in the diaspora are holding a town hall meeting with an American elected official to blame the victims of Tigray. Imagine. They victimize you and they turn around and they play as a victim. And they use women soldiers to talk about this. Somehow, that the people around the world who saw the atrocity in Tigray, who continues to follow the atrocity in Tigray, they want to use these women soldiers from Ethiopia to make us believe that it is the Tigray fighters, it is the Tigray people, the aggressors. The fact of the matter is, it's the opposite. We know that, but we have to come back and counter this kind of false narrative, false allegations against innocent people of Tigray, which is why I come to you today at a random time of the night to share with you, and morning for many of you in other part of the world. So I want you to follow what's happening and understand what they're up to. Because Europe and America understands everything that's happening, and Europe and America must wake up that we can no longer tolerate this evil in Addis Ababa and in Asmara. With that, listen to this woman who's brainwashed, supposed to be an Ethiopian soldier.
ይሃንን አልፈን እንግዲህ በእኛ ጀግንነትና በኃይለኝነታችን ያን ሁሉ ወተን ምሽጋቸውን ሰብረን እኛ ተዋተናል። ይሄ እዚህ በቁላቁም በመትባር ትንሽ እነሱ ከፍተኛ ቦታ ይዘው ትንሽኛ ወደታች ስለነበር ይሃን ነው ትንሽ ከባድ ብለን ያየነውና በእኛ በጀግንነታችን ያው ሁሉ አልፈን እነሱንም ድል አድርገን
to brag in
እኛም
how
እዚህ ቦታ
strength and
መተናል።
military of
እነሱ
Ethiopia,
እየለቀቁ
how they
እኛ
bust through
በከባድ መሳሪያ
the front lines
እያጠቃናቸው
of the
እነሱ
TDF,
እየለቀቁ
when
ሲመጡ
in fact it's
እኛ
opposite.
እየተከተልናቸው ስንመጣ ሰዓቱ እየመሸ ሄደ። ሰዓቱ እየመሸ ሲሄድ እኛ ያን ትምህርት ቤት መቆጣጠር አለብን ብለን ያን ትምህርት ቤት ተቆጣጥረን ሳለ ልክ እዛ ያላወጡት ንብረት ኖሮ መሰለኝ ሞርተር እየወረወሩ ሁለት ሶስቴ ላይ ተወረወረ። ሲወረወር ምንም አላጠቃንም፣ የቆሰለብንም ኃይል የለም።
በቅሎ ማቆሚያ ምናምን የሚባለው ወይም ፍላጌት የሚባለው አካባቢ ላይ መሽጎ ነበር የጠበቀን። እዛ ላይም ከፍተኛ ፊልም ነው ያደረገው።
I want you guys, I'm sure many of you speak better Amharic than me. I'm sure you understand Amharic far better than I do. But take a look at this guy's morale. These soldiers, are you kidding me? I mean, literally, this is the kind of fighters that he's bringing to commit genocide in Tigray, and they expect us to believe. But look at how low their moral level is compared to TDF. See, the difference is the people of Tigray are fighting for their survival. They're fighting to defend themselves, to exist as a human being. These people, some of them are forced to come and fight in Tigray, and some of them are simply that stupid they don't understand the lies of Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki. Let me be clear. In the past week, 117,000 Ethiopian troops, over 65% of them are newly trained, meaning that they've received no more than 2 weeks of basic training how to operate an AK-47, were deployed to the Amhara region. And many of you have followed. They called it the final operation, to enter to Mekelle, to take over Tigray. And that's the propaganda machine they want us to believe. So think about it. Psychologically, the morale in Ethiopia is so low. He is doing everything possible to make us believe, to make us think somehow what they're doing, what they're saying should be believable. So when I say, so here's Mekelle, for those of you who know the geography very well, the troops that massively has been deployed from Ethiopia, from the south, is that they are supposedly coming up to Woldia to take over Woldia. Mersa is completely destroyed in the last 36 hours. Been bombed by helicopters, by MiG-23, Russian made, and by drones. So Ethiopia, congratulations. Your own government that you believe is a government, a dictator that you are bragging about, is destroying your own city. So if you wonder what happened to Mersa, and if you have a question, who bombed it, perhaps you want to ask Isaias Afwerki. That is Abiy Ahmed's father in Asmara. It's no joke. So here's Mersa. You won't see Mersa the same way it was a week ago. And blessings to TDF. The responsive action by TDF has destroyed many of the Amhara fauna, the Amhara militia, and the Ethiopian troops who are supposed to be fighting behind the Amhara militia. They're not. They're not interested. It's actually a matter of time before we capture most of those weapons. To me, the way I see it is that this is a free delivery of weapons to TDF. Because obviously TDF is not manufacturing weapons in Tigray. We're actually yanking the weapons they come in with and using it right back at them. So isn't it pretty interesting when the mass fighting takes place in your hometown, when your own people is terrorized, Do you feel my pain? Do you hear me? Do you understand how it feels when you people are under attack? When civilians are bombed? That's what you did to people of Tigray. I'm speaking to the Amhara people. The videos the clips that I played, understand what's happening to you people. Wake up. Because what they telling you is not what's happening out there. The Tigray government, TDF, is not the one that's bombing your cities. Is not the one inviting Eritrea to come and loot and steal what they did in Tigray. They're repeating it in the Amhara region. So if you want to talk about who's doing what, again, ask Abiy Ahmed's father, Isaias Afwerki, in Asmara. So let me go real quickly about this map that I brought you. Recently, many of you know what they were talking about. Abala is over here. It's roughly within about 20 miles or within 30 to 40 kilometers to Mekelle. The Eritrean, Ethiopian military deployed troops to Abala, and they were progressing towards Mekelle. So you guys can see right there. And it is right in the border of Tigray. There's a town. The Tigray government warned to the Afar not proceed. And they proceeded. And the response by TDF was swift. So the fighting, TDF have taken over Abala. It's under 100% under control of TDF. TDF actually is now deep penetrating inside the Afar region. And who are they fighting? Mostly Eritrean troops, supported by the Amhara troops, and very limited, but some within the Afar region who supported the Be'elegna party, which is the Ethiopian Be'elegna party. Okay, that's the front line. In the meantime, Eritrea, along the northern border, from a few areas, have tried to cross over to Tigray. What Eritrea is understanding more and more today is that Tigray is fully mobilized militarily. Tigray is not what it was 11 months ago. Tigray is no longer the state, the region, the country to be soon unarmed. It is prepared to defend every front line. It is not our choice to fight Eritrea, Amhara region, the Ethiopian troops, various elements of fighters who are joining the dictator in Eritrea and in Addis Ababa, the failed state of Ethiopia. That is not. So let it be clear for the viewers, for those of you who've been following this politic, Eritrea has been a failed state. The people of Eritrea fought 30 years of war for independence and accepted 30 years of slavery. In the last 11 months, they sought opportunity through the failed state of Ethiopia and looted every infrastructure in Tigray and burned whatever they could steal. Raped so many young girls and women. Shame on them. For those Eritreans who are deaf ear, don't understand, or create excuses to the very people who are committing genocide, shame on you too. Moving on to Sudan. Kassala is a border with Eritrea. It has mixed Eritreans with the Sudanese by birth. Isaias Afwerki and Abiy Ahmed recently tried to overthrow the Khartoum-led government in Sudan, and they failed. So what Eritrea now is doing is creating havoc in Sudan by attempting to have the governor of Kassala to ask for an autonomy, to split from Sudan. Why? Because it creates instability in Sudan. It also perhaps blocks, guess what? Isaias Afwerki is a very calculative dog because he understands the game more than Abiy Ahmed. So they're blocking Port Sudan, where you have all the access to the port of Sudan, also where eventually when Tigray corridor opens up through Amhara, it comes through there. There you have it, Amhara, right? So if you have Kassala split from Sudan, you block all the access that comes from the port of Sudan, food and medicine to go to Tigray. I mean, Isaias Afwerki has been doing everything possible to kill every Tigrayans wherever we are. This is no joke. So, to my fellow Tigrayans around the world, pay attention. When you're speaking to your fellow Eritreans, pay attention. Because Isaias Afwerki is funded by those who run from Eritrea, enter to Tigray. Tigray mothers fed them, welcomed them, housed them, left to America and Europe, and they turn around and they're funding the very person who's massacring our people in Tigray. My Kadra, we all know what happened there. Our people were massacred. So that is sort of the brief outline of what's happening in Ethiopia. There is another front line of fighting that is in Debarak, headed towards Gondar, which is the Tigrayan Defense Forces, TDF, is in the front fighting. Another area, since I had the map up for you guys, let me just bring it back up again. There we go. So here's Gondar. Here's Bahrdar. In the past week, most of the Bahrdar and Dese, which is Dese's over here, equipment, including alcohol equipment, machineries, everything, was ordered to be pulled out of those areas and taken to Addis Ababa by Abiy Ahmed. Imagine, people are dying, and he's worried about equipment. He's worried about alcohol. Imagine the kind of person this guy is. So fighting is happening north of Debre Tabor. Fighting is taking place in Sagota. Fighting is also happening down here in an area called Agat, A-G-A-T. You guys can see on the map. Here it is. So there's heavy fighting going on here. What does that mean? The Ethiopian military, the failed state of Ethiopia, the Amhara militia, is having a hard time capturing anything. So their idea is fighting here. They're trying to go up to the highway B22, known as. They're also trying to cut off Gashina over here so they can get control over the B22 highway, which gets them to Debre Tabor, and that goes into Wareta, which connects to Bahrdar and Gondar. That's a struggle they're trying to control. They can't, because TDF is every corner they come to fight, and they thought they can just walk right through and go up. So the heavy fighting that I start showing you originally down here, initially, their idea was they come from Dese. Here you have it. And they're bombing Mersa, because here's the thing. What Abiy Ahmed really wanted to do was he wanted to tell us I just won the election when most area in Ethiopia, there was no election, including in Tigray. He wanted to convince the world because now we squeezed him. See, we done an amazing job. I'm going to talk about that in a sec. But here's what he's trying to do. He's bombed the hell out of Mersa. Mersa is right there, for those of you who can see it, the city of Mersa. And by way of doing that, he's hoping to capture Woldia. He can't. But let's say he does, which is not going to happen. But let's say he does. So his idea is if he captures that, then he can say, you see, I got the power, I got the military, I can do whatever I wanted to do. Therefore, now I am ready to sit down and negotiate for a peace deal because he doesn't want to be dead, because he doesn't want to be out of power. He knows what TDF is doing now. He knows the preparation of TDF. It's a matter of time. You notice, guys, TDF is not releasing a lot of news. They've been silent. You think we're just like not paying attention? TDF is just sleeping, taking a nap. Think that's what TDF is doing? Think again. But Abiy Ahmed knows what's coming. Why would Abiy Ahmed actually go to the very person, the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, who happens to be Tigrayan ethnic, put him on house arrest for 11 months, and all of a sudden goes to his house and have a discussion with him? Think about it. And the government of South Sudan just announced that Abiy Ahmed agreed to negotiate with the government of Tigray. Agreed to negotiate with the government of Tigray. Imagine, guys, folks. I mean, think about it. Is that what's coming down to? Well, it's about games. He's thinking about his survival because his relationship with Isaias Afwerki is falling apart. It's not working. It's not getting him where he wants to go. So, what's his option? Desperation. If you guys watch Digital Wayane, you heard what Getachew Reda said. I hope you did. And if you didn't, I'm going to show you a clip real quick. And I'm going to let you draw your own conclusion on why what Abiy Ahmed is saying is a joke.
እኔ አሁን አናዴ ገርመኛል ከውጭ ሀገር የትግራይ ተወላጆች ይደውላሉ እኔ ራሴ ጫና ነው ከየት ነው ያመጡት ላሉ መቀሌ አካባቢ ደባለ መቀሌ ሰራዊት ምንድነው የብልጽግና ሰራዊት
This is Digital Wayane. I want to give credit to Digital Wayane's work.
ይኖራታል መቼም አይገባ
and partially was from the Tigray intersection.
በሰላም እንኳን ጉዳዩን ብንጨርሰው ፍጹም አያትም የመቀለን ሊያያታቸው ምን ሊሰራ ይመጣ በወንጀል መጠየቅ ያለበት ሰራዊት ነው ከተረፈ ማለት ነው ትግራይ መልሽ ይቆጣጣራለው በ10 ቀን ሲሰሙት ደጋፊዎቹ ለምን እስከ መቼ እንደሚነቁ ይገባኛል አለፉት 3 ወራት በ10 ቀን ይዟለን በ10 ቀን ይዟለን በ10 ሳምቲንግ ይዟለን የሆነ ሰዓት ላይ ነገ ከነ ወዲያ ሁኔታዎችን እንደገና አሁን የጀመሩት እንቅስቃሴዎች ማክሸፋችን አይቀርም ምንም የሚያጠራጥር ነገር የለውም እሱ በኋላ ከ10 ወር በኋላ ብሉ ቀጠሮ ሊይዝ ይችላል እንደገና ከ10 አመት በኋላ ቀጠሮ ሊይዝ ይችላል ለኛ እዚህ ጨዋታ ውስጥ ጦርነት ውስጥ የገባነው ለአድቬንቸር አይደለም እዚህ ጦርነት ውስጥ የገባነው የኢላማ ምንድነው የተኩስ ልምምድ ሱስ ስላለብን አይደለም መተኮስ መቻላችን ለትግራይ ህዝብ ብሎና ሲባል ለትግራይ ህዝብ
So what Getachew Reda is saying basically is that the Tigray people, TDF, that are fighting for their survival, it's not a game. We're not fighting to learn how to shoot or practice. This is not training. This is not a game. This is real. So for those of you who may not understand Amharic, that's kind of what he's saying to just summarize in a short way. But I will continue and I'll give you a quicker summary of it.
ቀጣይ ማንነቱ ማረጋገጥ አስፈላጊ ሆኖ ስላገኘ ነው ስለሱን ማድረግ እንቀጥልበታለን ያው ቀረርቶ ቀጥሏል ለዚህ ቀረርቶ የሚመጥን ምላሽ እየሰጠን እንቀጥላለን ወታደራዊ መስኩ ሰርፕራይዝ ለማድረግ የሚያስችል አቅም ከየት ነው የሚመጣው the best commando units ሁሉም አይነት ስልጠና ሁሉም አይነት ልምድ ያላቸው ኃይሎችን ከደመሰስን በኋላ በየሰፈሩ ተደናግሮ ተምታቶ ተረት ተነግሮት የጥላሁን ዘፈን አዲስ ደግሞ የሚወጡ ዘፈኖች አሉ አገር ያገር የሚሉ ዘፈኖች ከህዝብ ጋር ምንም ግንኙነት የላቸው እነዚህን ሰምቶ የተሰባሰበ ብዙ የሚፈጥሩት ነገር የለም አይደለም አሁን የጀመሩት እንቅስቃሴ ረጅም ባልተባለ ጊዜ በጣም አጭር በሆነ ጊዜ ኢንፋክት እና ከሽፏል
So I think many of you already understand the whole point here. Abiy Ahmed's effort, what he wants to do, is not working. So nothing he did so far has worked for him. When he's desperate, what does he do? False propaganda, false hope. And it's shame to see Ethiopians fall into this false propaganda, false narrative. Come on, wake up, Ethiopians, if you even exist as Ethiopians. Oh, wait, I forgot. We did say the failed state of Ethiopia. Now imagine a nation that was on the rise. Just imagine for a moment. This guy came to power, blessed with every opportunity to lead 112 to 120 million people, with respect and dignity, and to lead. Instead, he goes, hangs out with the wrong crowd. Just think about it for a moment. See, the choices that we make in life have consequences. This is the most dangerous and most reckless person that Ethiopia has ever had, the failed state of Ethiopia has ever had. So if Ethiopia or the people in that region somehow thinks this is what they really want, they got what they want. Clearly, these guys have no clue about leadership. These guys have no clue about negotiation. These guys have no respect. As a father, he has 2 daughters. As a father of 2 daughters, when Tigrayan girls and women are raped and are dying of basic needs of medicine and food, and he talked about the election and how he won by landslide and it was democratic, when states like Tigray and other regions of Ethiopia did not participate in the election, when most leaders that would have competed and beat him on the election are in jail or not participating because of their ethnicity. I mean, just think about it. Now, my question for you guys in the audience that I'd like you to help me out is, what in the world are Ethiopians, the Amhara people, thinking, doing, when their cities are under shell, under constant bombing by Ethiopia, by the Ethiopian Air Force? McLaurie, actually, his children used to live in Denver. So I'm just seeing the comment. Yes, that's true, but that was, they used to. They actually moved out of there. In fact, I announced it on Cyber the first few months when we looked into it, and he took them out of there. So they're no longer in Denver. They're actually went to Addis Ababa. And from what we hear is that they returned, but they're in the East Coast. But I think I'm not going to go there because we over the frustrations and angers and everything. Now we are trying to make sense of what's happening on the ground. So for those of you who have followed the atrocities in Tigray since November 4th, 2020, the Tigray people are facing tremendous famine, starvation, a famine that's man-made by Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia, who declare genocide on the people of Tigray. So this genocider thinks he's elected leader to run Ethiopia, and the people of the Amhara continue to make us think somehow that we're going to believe their false narrative, their propaganda machine, and saying it is us, Tigrayans, who attack them. Here's another Ethiopian or Amhara media, just the usual false propaganda, talking how this and that. Listen to it.
ጠበቅበታል ብለዋል። ዘመኑ ይርጋ የነዋሪዎችን አስተያየት አሰባስበው ተከታዩን ዘገባ አጠናክረዋል።
የህዝብ ተወካዮች ምክር ቤት ባካሄደው 6ኛ ዙር አንደኛ ዓመት አንደኛ ልዩ ስብሰባው ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር ዶክተር አብይ አህመድ ያቀረቧቸውን የሚኒስትሮች ሹመት ተቀብሎ ማጽደቁ ይታወቃል። አዲስ መንግስት ምስረታውንና የሚኒስትሮችን ሹመት መነሻ በማድረግ በምዕራብ ጎጃም ዞን የደንበጫና ፍኖተ ሰላም ከተማ ነዋሪዎችን አነጋግረናል። ባለፈው ሰኔ 14 2013 ዓ.ም በተካሄደው 6ኛው ሀገራዊ ምርጫም አብላጫ ድምጽ በማግኘት መንግስት የመመስረት ዕድል ያገኘው ብልጽግና ፓርቲ የተፎካካሪ ፓርቲዎች እንዲካተቱ ማድረጉ የዲሞክራሲ ባህል በሀገሪቱ እንዲያድግ መሰረት የጣለ ነው ሲሉም ያነጋገርናቸው የህብረተሰብ ክፍሎች ተናግረዋል።
አቶ እንደገና እያለ ይባላል። 6ኛው ሀገራዊ ምርጫን አስመልክቶ የመንግስት ምስረታ ተካሂዷል። ተፎካካሪ ፓርቲዎች ገብተዋል። እነዚህ መግባታቸው መልካም አጋጣሚ ነው። ተቃርበን ለመስራት እያንዳንዱን ነገር ከመተቻቸት አብሮ በመስራት ጥሩ ነው ብዬ አምናለሁ። ከዚህ በፊት እንደዚህ
So this guy is saying that this election was so good that various parties have participated in the election, and having that various party participation in the election of Ethiopia, like, listen, this is the Amharic version, what they're saying, the false propaganda they're sharing to their people. Okay, as much as I hate Amharic, I understand it. Okay, hear me out here. So they're saying the election was good, that there was like many various party participation, and that made them feel proud because he's saying that's going to help them to work together, because various party actually were dismantled and thrown in jail. In the Tigray case, they were under attack, and it continues to be under attack. But this is the kind of dangerous propaganda that we should not be tolerating. We should not be letting it go. This is the kind of things that we have to fight for. We have to stand for. We, meaning the Tigrayan Americans, Tagaru, all over the world, we must speak out. We must stand and defend the false propaganda. The same as the guy previously told the world that we, the Tigrayans, should be completely wiped out from this earth. And he tried to say, oh no, I meant to say it, or I did not say it to the Tigrayans, I say to PLF, to this and that. No, we know what these people are saying. We know what they're saying. And I will let you listen to what he says. And there's another young lady after him that she will come, and it's just how brainwashed these people are. It is a disgrace and shame.
አሁን ላይ ግን ያለው ነገር እኔ በጣም ደስ ብሎኛል።
አምላክ ከእግዚአብሔር ባላለው የፍኖተ ሰላም ከተማ ነዋሪ ነኝ። ተፎካካሪ ፓርቲ ምንላቸውን አካላት አካቷል። ይሄ ምንድነው? ከዚህ በፊት የጎሪጥ የመታየት ነገሮች ነበሩ። በቃ ለአንድ ሀገር ሳይሆን በቃ እንደ ግለሰብ መታየት። ተፎካካሪ ፓርቲ ሆነ ሀገሪቱን እየመራት ያለው መንግስት ለሀገር እንደሆነ የመተሳሰብ ነገር አልነበረም ከዚህ በፊት።
ሀገራችን ከውስጥም ከውጭም በርካታ ፈተናዎችን እያስተናገደች መሆኑን የተናገሩት አስተያየት ሰጪዎቹ በተለይ አዲስ የተዋቀረው የካቢኔ አባላት የዜጎችን ደህንነት ማረጋገጥ፣ ህጎችን በማሻሻል ብሔራዊ መግባባት እንዲፈጠር
he's talking, or she's talking actually, before the reporter is talking. What she said was similar to what the young men say, that various parties have participated in the election unlike before, which is not true. The election actually was not held throughout Ethiopia, because when I look at the map, even though Tigray is sort of on its own, Tigray is still under the federal system, still is a nation part of Ethiopia, a region part of Ethiopia, excuse me, did not participate in any part of this election process. Most of the Oromia region did not participate, and other regions like the Beshangul Gamaz, part of Afar. I mean, we can go on and on and on. The only people benefited from this election is the very people who are dismantled in Ethiopia, which is the Amhara. If you take that as an offense, swallow the bigger pill and understand the truth. The truth of the matter is, it is Eritrea, it is Amhara who wants to dismantle Ethiopia, and they succeeded in doing that. But what they have not succeeded, and what they fail, and they will fail continuously, is eliminating us, Tigrayans. Further, he stated it, that internal and external challenges Ethiopia face. Well, who made that challenge? It's your own making. You can't blame it on me because I happen to be Tigrayan. Blame it on your leader. Blame it on yourself for your own false propaganda. It's not my problem that you play deaf ear when your fellow Tigrayans are attacked by Amhara Fana, Amhara militia, Eritrean mercenaries, Eritrean troops, raping Tagaru. You don't even have the gut and the heart to stand and speak against that. For 5 months, we heard every lie that Eritrean troops were not in Tigray. I mean, think about it. But take a look again, just to summarize what I was saying. Eritrea is working hard in Kassala, Sudan, to dismantle that part of the region, to block potential future access from Port Sudan that will come to Tigray to assist the people of Tigray. Abiy Ahmed is now running as fast as he can to convince African leaders, the head of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, for negotiation with Tigray. Now, my question for the audience and for anyone is, what's Isaias Afwerki saying and doing this time? What is he up to? Because if he doesn't get the resource that he needs from Addis Ababa, he knows he's dead. An old dog that will be dead without a bone. So if Arat Kilo is not tossing him the bone that he needs to chew on, he's falling apart. So he's desperate. Eritrean troops are like dispersed throughout Ethiopia, throughout the Amhara region. They're supposed to be fighting. Instead, they're actually looting and stealing and raping. This is what they know they're good at. But don't turn and twist and turn it on Tigrayans. TDF have every opportunity to retaliate, but they don't, because they're better than you. You see, the Tigray people, even after their brothers and sisters have gone through atrocities, genocide, they rose above and beyond that. They went after the enemies, those who committed genocide, and chased them and fought them to their graves. But when it came to civilians throughout the Amhara region, including today where Tigrayan fighters are, TDF, just in case if you can't see my shirt, they're not doing that because they know better. They know better. As much as I have been very outspoken, whether we call them Amhara elite and whatnot, I understand generalizing the Amhara people perhaps not fair, but you know what? This is not about fairness. This is about my people's life and death. So for anyone that wants to argue with me, I'm rough, I'm tough, and I'm this, I'm mean, no, not at all. Because it is the Amhara Ethiopians who opened the floodgate for Eritrea to come in and rape my sisters in Tigray, my mothers in Tigray. So you can't tell me that I'm like, oh, lumping everybody in. a few months ago, I was out on a different media. They tried to tell me, how could you just generalize it? No, I'm not generalizing it. See, when the Eritreans come to Tigray and steal, and I call them thieves, I'm not defaming them. I'm actually calling them what they are. Labor. Because that's what they did. So with that, I want to have an opportunity to use my mother tongue, the language that my mother and my father taught me how to speak, that regardless, being proud American, I'm first proud Tigrayans. My pride is deep. So even though when I come to you, I broadcast in English, I want to do it in English because I want to make sure those who do not speak Amharic, do not speak Tigrinya, understands what's happening in Tigray and in that region. I must include the native language that I was born into, which is Tigrinya. So with this, there's one other thing that I'm going to say in English, and then I'm going to switch into Tigrinya real quick, which is, interestingly enough, yesterday, the day before, and today, the dictator in Addis Ababa is so terrified of what's coming from the US and from Europe in the next few weeks. He actually, for the first time, started releasing those civilians, some of the civilians who's being rounded up throughout Addis Ababa and put into various places. Their lives have been on the line. Some have died, sadly. So it is very interesting, though. At least we have confirmed people that have been rounded up. That was released in the last 36 hours. So very interesting, but hey, we'll see, what he's up to. So with that, I want to take a moment to be able to speak to you all in my native language, Tigrinya. ክቡራት ኣሕዋት ዓለም ሙሉእ ዘለኹም መጀመርታ ተጋሩ ኣሕዋት ኣሓት ከምኡ እውን ፈተውቲ ትግራይ ናይ ዓለም ሙሉእ ሳይበር ፓወር ትግራይ ሚድያ ተኸታተልትና ሰማዕትና መጀመርታ ሼርና ሰብስክራይብ እንትገበሩ ክትሓወርና ሳይበር ፓወር ትግራይ ሚድያ ክነግዝፎ ክነግፍሖ ክትሓወርና ክትሕግዙና ብትሕትና ብክብሪ ንዕድመኩም ንሓተኩም ሳይበር ፓወር ትግራይ ሚድያ ናይ ትግራይ ኢንፎርሜሽን ንምምሕላፍ ናይ ትግራይ ግፍዕታት ዝስራሕ ዘሎ ንዓለም ብተፈላለዩ ቋንቋታት ንምክሮ ዘለና ብእንግሊዝኛ ኣነ ዝምክሮ ዘለኹ ዘመሓላልፎ ዘለኹ ነቶም ዓለም ዝኔው ልቢ ዘለዎም ሰባት ዝከታተሉና ዝፀንሑ ዝከታተሉና ዘለው እንታይ ግፍዕታት ተሰሪሑ ትግራይ በአምሓራ ክልል ብኤርትራ ክልል ብካሊእ ቦታታት እውን ፕሮፓጋንዳ ሕሶት ዘየለ ኣብቲ ባይታ ዘየለ ሕሶታት ግፍዕታት እናተሰርሐ ብህዝብና ኣሕዋትና ተደፊረን ሒዝም እንተኾነ ሒዝ ብሑመራ ብካሊእ ቦታ እናተደፈረ እንዳሃለወ ናይ ትግራይ ሓይሊ እዩ ደብዲቡ ኣብ መቐለ ወታደር ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ከምዚ ጌርና ውግእ ተፈጠረሉ እናበሉ ብሕሶት ፕሮፓጋንዳ ክሰርሑ እንተለው ንሕና ግን ኣይኒ ድቅስን ኢልና 24 ሰዓት ንሰርሕ ዘለና ተጋሩ ዓለም ሙሉእ ዘለና ማለት እዩ እዚዩ ሳይበር ፓወር ትግራይ ሚድያ ናይ ኩልና መድረክ እዩ ሓቢርና ክንሰርሐሉ ፅቡቅ ንሰርሕ እንተሊና ፅቡቅ ሰርሑ ኣለኹም ትብሉና ይቕኒየልና ጎደለታት ዘለና እውን ጎደልና ትነግሩና ክንስተኻኽለሉ ክንእረመሉ እውን ንሰምዐኩም ኢና ንሰምዐኩም ግን መጀመርታ ንተጋሩ እናትና ኢና ምክንያቱ ኣነ ምክሪ ዝደሊ ካብ ጎረቤት ሃገር ካብ ንሓፍተይ ዝደፍር ንሓወይ ዝቐትል ዘይኮነስ ንኣይ ዘኽብር ንሓፍተይ ዘኽብር ንሃገረይ ዝፈቱ ንትግራይ ካብኡ እየ ምክሪ ዝደሊ ምክንያቱ ሓቅነት ስለ ዘለዎ ቀንጠብጠብ ስለ ዘይብል ስለ ዘይሰርቕ ሓፍቱ ተደፊራቶ ሓው ተደፊርዎ ኣፍቲ ፀላኢ ኸይዱ ዝደምሰሰሉ ነቲ ታራ ዝኾነ ሰብ ዘይደፍር ህዝቢ እዩ ዘለና ኣነ እዚ እዩ ዝሕብነኒ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ማለት እዩ ግፍዒ ምስራሕ ቀሊል እዩ ሕነ ምፍዳይ ቀሊል እዩ هو نوقعنا موزعتكم أخوات على ملء زلهم تجارب يردني تحمام أكبر نازل الحمام كبيديو جن موزعت جزئي ما عندنا أكتر نقوله بوليتيكاي رد أنا أوشت نازل لو حنكاسات نايب على نون نقال هيوم نوزع أيام حبرنا جن نسرح سألأي مونغونا آتيو فلالينا كداخل من الناس مكر أم مونغونا آتيو نتجارب نأنا أنت فولينا أي سؤال خشن فينا زغل نحنا بصريت بخبرة ترادنا تمايتنا بحد أنت صريحنا جن زمزة تمزعي ما نم نتجراوي زفرس يلا نتجراويتي زفرس يلا جعانو تجار حواتنا آياتنا عرسات تكايد موزنو تكايد وزلو موت موريس أميم من حرزي أخوينا يدم منهم زي ولم حارة خوصو تجراي 24 ساعات دقاس زيولو يقالسو زلو حيز خاني تጭንደቁ ዘለኹም حساب ዘለኽን ኣሕዋትና በተለይ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኣሕዋት እዚው ፈተናታት ሪና እዩ ኢና ዓወተው ቀረባ እዩ ፀላእ እንተፈከረ ናይ ኤርትራ ሓይሊ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ሓይሊ ናይ ኣምሓራ ክልል እዚ ኩሉ ኣብቲ መጀመርታ እኳ እዚ ኩሉ ሸሓት እዚ ኩሉ ብ100 ሸሓታት እዚ ኩሉ መሳርያ ኣፅዋር ሒዙ መፅዩ تاينا غيرنا تداناغيصنا سراوتنا ون زي تزاغاجو نيرو ملؤ زي نبرنا خوينو تتقينا هنا ريكاب يزغبر زلخ انا سامرايز غيري انتايو ግን ኣብ ሰዓት እዚዩ ኣጣናኺርና ሓይሊ ትግራይ ዝበፀን ተመፀና ንሕና ምን እንኳን መቐለ ክረግፅዋሲ ጫፋት ናይ ትግራይ ክመፁ ተለው ኣብኣ ከምቲ ናይ ቀደም እቲናዮም ምስኣተው ኣይኮናን መፂና ክንዓፅሎም ጋና እንተ ይረገፅዎ ተለው ትመሬትና እዮም ዝዕፀዱ ዘለው እዚ ግልፂ እዩ ጉራ ኣይኮነን ምክንያቱ ሒዚ ኣዘጋጂና ኢና ተዘጋጂ እወ ክታት እንሄ ጥሜት ኣሎ ሕማም እንሄ ብዙሕ ፀገም እንሄ ናይ ትግራይ ይርዳእና እዩ ግን ናይ ሰራዊት ትግራይ TDF ና ተጣናኺሩ ብሙሉእ ሰራዊት ትግራይ ሙሉእ ተነስኒሱ ከም መርዚ እዩ ንፀላኢ ዝፅበ ዘሎ ይፅበኻ ኣይኮነን ዘሎ እናኸደ ብግንባራት እዩ ዝሕምሽሾ ዘሎ ኣብ ትግራይ ብሬናት ከላሽናት መስርሕ የለን ብሬናት ከላሽናት መትሮየሳት ካብኡ ዝለዓለ መሳርያታት ካብ ሻዕብያ ካብ ፎጣ ለባሽ ንብሎም እኳ ቆዳ ለባሽ ንበሎም እስቲ ፎጣማ ግራጁዌት ጌርና ይበልና ማለት ቆዩ ስለዚ ንሳቶም ቆዳ ዝክደኑ እስኳ ተረኺቦሞ ምሳና ዝዋዳደሩ ኣይኮነን እቶም ረስሓት ሕግደፋውያን ንበሎም ሻዕብያ ረስሓት ዝኩሉ ጉራ ገይሮም ዝኩሉ ሰሪሖም ንሪኦም ኣለና እኮ ተዋሪዶም እዮም በዓሎም ባይ ዘ ወይ ሓደ ክነግረኩም ተጋሩ ኤርትራውያን ሰብኡት እናወል ዝጉረይዎ ዝነበሩ በኣና ከም ሓደ ረስሓት ብሚድያ ወፂኦም ዝፃረፉ ዘለው ኣለው እዮም ኣለዋ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ እውን ባይ ዘ ወይ ጨምላቃታት ዝኾኑ ዘይረብኩም ኣሕዋትና ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ተደፊረን ኣሕዋትና ተቐቲሎም ኣብ ሚድያ ወፂኦም ክፍክሩ ረስሓት እዮም እዚኣቶም ናይ መጨረሻ ረስሓት ስለዚዩ ረሳሕ ሰብ ክትቀርቦ ይብልካ ስለዝጨኑ ንሕና ዘልየና ግን እንታይ እዩ ንሕና ንባዕልና ተጋሩ ከመይ ጌርና ጌጋታትና እናተኣራረምና ብሓደ ኮይና ክንሰርሕ ኣለና ኢና ንጥዮ ዘለና ሂወትና ኣነ ካባይ ጀሚረ ናተይ ጌጋ እንታይ እዩ ናይ ሓፍተይ ናይ ሓወይ ክሰምዕ ኣለኒ ናይ ረሳሕ ሰብ ግን እንታይ ኢለዮ ንሕና እኮ ናይ ኤርትራ ገምጋም ኣይንገብርን ናይ ትግራይ ኢና ገምጋም ንገብር ንሳቶም ግን ኩሉ ግዜ ናይ ትግራይ ገምጋም እዮም ክውና ዝደልዩ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ገምጋም እዮም ዝደልዩ ወፂኦም እንዳሃለው እኮ እዩ ኢትዮጵያ እኮ ጉድባይ ኢሎም ከይዶም ለቂቆም ከይዶም በቲ ዘለው ከፍ ኢሎም እኮ ስራሖም ይሰርሑን ስራሖም ንሶም ስለ ዘይሰርሑ ግን ዛዕባ ኢትዮጵያ እዮም ኩሉ ግዜ ክነግሩና ዝደልዩ ዛዕባ ትግራይ እዮም በቃ ኩሉ ግዜ ፈላእትና ኣሎ ተፈታዊ ሸውገለ ዝብል ሓደ ረሳሕ ብቀዳማይ ይሪአኩም ነይረ 300,000 አውፂና ኮይና ከምዚ እናለ ይፍክር ነይሩ ኣነ ናይ 300,000 አውፃኻ 3 ሚልዮን አውፃኻ ንሱን ቶም ረሳሓት እቶም ኣሕዋትና ዝደፈሩ ንኣቶም ድሕሪቶም መፅረግ ዘይገብሩ لزيت نايزيهم جنزب عين بنا يلي نمسو زي يكون العلامة نحنا بس أنا سرعات جن تم قفع الصرحة وإحنا نقول خمسة لكم فضوا له زاتوا وعدا 300 عمتات خفلوا وخمسة يقول زاتوا وعدا بتقرأ فضوا له تقارو جن حق إن تزيو خفرحكم خفرحنا يولن نحنا إيرتراويان إتهم حق الناس اللوم توم منهم قفع زي صرحوا منهم ينقوروا منا تأتينا هاي قيروا منا توم راس حتى مجربة توم حاسوتي توم دكان استيز دفرو توم تقرأي كيدم ما نكاشروا السروق جن كم جيكم نتصوعوهم كم جيكم تلو ما توم كم بيلم زارون علم نهاتهم دقفت اللي يابو سلسخونو جزيخ ما يتقاصل مساعدهم عد اللي يتهوى لا يابو يوم لا يبقى لا يبقى ينتهي حيو لا يابو كان نقولنا يقول هاي لا يبقى أنت زي كون كما يحمل كانكم زي سرقان تهانكا زي سرقة ما حقهم ولا يابو يوم إلى مسانا يمسو ثم سوريات إيرتراويان أفتقراي مسيوم دك أنستيو دفيرام بزح سب قتيلام سريقام يوم كنبلت لنا ثم سوريات نص زي يدقفو حقهم وين نحنا ونكو رئينا يوم مساهم كينا سرقت يوم زيوم أواري دومنا نحنا إيرتراويان توارين أنا بزوم راسحات ليابو إلى مستيزارو استدي أيوز استدي نايب حق نحر صور داليا أنا يكرت أقول لي هذا حواتنا ونلو يوم كم زي فلاتنا مهراتنا خبزينا ناولز بوللونا يوم تاي مالتي المهر تاي مالتي فلات أنا بقلم سلطة مهر هذا سوي يكون زخورة تقرويتي ويتقروي حواتي بدم بدأ جاناتين information بدم بغير زحز تردي وها مسبر حيز الزارب حفتي حاوي صوري تقروي نهزون هاجر نحسب زينا سلازيو زينا أركتايو ناي أتراس تنكف قوز مجرش هذه تاي مسلكم هزبنا تساقي كل لقف عزله ولا حيز انتخواني حمار عاصيم حيزوم نازنيو شعبي أيو أمحارة كلل ناي شعبية حيلي إيو قطر حادث علينا خالي إيكونا هو إرتراويان يوم قفع السرح النازل له حيز دم يكون بدرجة حيزهم يوم قفع جميرهم نحنا عينا عايش غوينا دينن إلنا حيزنا يخاف إلنا تقميلنا كل عالم ناريو حيزي أبكد مينا حاتنا دفيرهم هزبنا خهلق زمو كورو كم زي كونا جن نريء لنا أي كونا لهم سحسوا ومقدم بر كم سحسوا وتزخوا النيرو تواصيرهم كل نجار ناي تقرأ عنيهم هزبنا تعرشهم كعندور لا يحساب نيرو جناي كونا سلون سيناون مكلا هاي تقرأ TDF تنكيرو أبكر واجزي عوتات كم تسمعنا اتحاد 110 شح وتهدر ناي أبي أحمد ناي تبع لقنا بارتي موز يزورلو حيزن السوم مدام ساسي يسرح زلو TDF بساينس بعلامة ناقورسنا ازي يرقفنا كم قوصي يزرقف زلو حيزي ناي بقى نحر أنا بقولكم زلو خون نحر زي آمينكم إني خالي حد ميديا قالو تخططلو تانا زلو زلو خون خالي زولو ويدم ما زولو سم حد قالات كتري وهم قال زي قرأ يكون حايلتها تقرأ حيزن إحنا نا حايل تساقم يبنا بناي درون سكف بزحات حوات اللهم حات اللهم عبد ساعات زيو اتخوينات يزقيرون يشتي ناي TDF نا خم يجرو خم ديات ملسخب كم زلوا إذا استحاخل مبر ناي درون حيز مسئل نانا زقيرو مجدتات يبلنا حيز ما سراوتنا عبد تقرأ ترايد يكون سام حركة لو كل تبتي يزق على السر لكن ما حيزت كعنا مسارة أنا أحد بوتا ينيرو أحد كاب ينيرو عبيت بس أسوارات كان نبركات حيز كايا فلالي خاطو وسقتك أساس أيدخل النيركا حيز خير تقندز عوز اللو TDFنا تانك سلز حاجة يكون كبير مسارة سلز حاجة يكون ندياو تزبالة زقارس عوز اللو تم TDFنا قللت مسارات حيزهم بركات تقراي بركات أمحارة خيدم يوم نعصدو كم سعري زدقسو زلو نتصلاي TDF حدا قدم حيتاي سخيرو حدا هم ريخم يخم سخيرو مستسطي سخيرو كلهم محازتي مويتهم بTDF طيت حوام كودقو يزر امبر بTDF ببيتو كيسو سلازيرين تاي زخون مخانم سلازي فلت قدم مماتي TDF ورئين بجاحاتكو وميل لهم أنا زي تاش ما يكون باي ذا واي حيزي من تقوان حيزي تنايم حارنيا تلفزيون زرقكم تاين من تاي مسلكم عشان نفنا يوم دفعهم عتينا عرارو خمزي تي نهاتنا زسرحنا يسي دراما كويم سرحلو مليسهم بعضهم جاقانو بعضهم مشنفتي بعضهم بقى الناتاچين مدبن ليابولون من ميللاچو قالتات ناور خزارون تلو انا بقى يقرمن لك تناي تقراي زنيه بحالس حيزم تخون حيزسي يحرفوا انا صليهم تبحلنا غني يفوتوا يعرفوا رحمه زي سي عينت ناي انسسا ጭንቅላት ከም ዘለዎም የርእየካ ይምህረካ ስለዚህ እንታይ ኩለኩም እዩ ተናይ አምሓራ ማስት ሚዲያታት ዘመሓልፍዎ ዘለው ንወያነ ሽኒፍና ንጅንታ ሽኒፍና ከምዚ ይብሉ ኣለው ማሪክና ቀቲልና እዮም እውን ኢሎም ቪድዮታት ኣሎ ይባይዘው ታንቶ ዘረኩም ነርኩ ይዘፍት ሓደ ቦታ እንታይ ዝብል ንጅንታ ማሪክና እዮም ቀቲልና እዮም እስቲ እንድሕር ቀቲልኩም እንድሕር ማሪክኩም ስቶሪዩ ናቶም ናትና ቶም TDF ዝማረኽኩሞም ሲ ወይ ድማ ዝቀተልኩሞም ኣርዩና እስትሺ ኣርዩና ናይ አዲስ አበባ ታራሰብ ጻውንት ቆልዑ ትግርኛ ዘይኽእሉ ተጋሩ ብዘርኢ ኣሲርኩም ዘርእኩም ናቀድም ሒዝ ዘይኮነ ዝብል ሰለይ ኣብዚ ሰዓት እዚ ሒዝ ሰራዊትኩም መፅኡ ዝዋጋእ ዘሎ 117,000 ወታደር መፅኡ ዝዋጋእ ዘሎ ሒዚ ንሱ ዝማረኾ ንሱ ዘሸነፎ ንሱ ዝቀተሉ ናትና ሰራዊት እስቲ ኣርዩና ጉራን ግደፎ ምክንያቱ ከማኻትኩም ዝጉራ የለን ሙዚቃ ትጉራዩ حتى درافي تاخد درفياسي የኤርትራ ጌታ የኢትዮጵያ ጌታ ገለና አለ ተደረፍ ገሪም ወይ ለይኸ ለካሰ ኣብ ኤርትራ ዓደም ሓራንስ ንቦይን ካሊ ናይ ባዕሎም እግዚአብሔር ተፈጢሩሎም ኣለካ ኣነ ዘይፈልጥ ነይረ ሓደ እግዚአብሔር ዘሎ ይፈልጥ ነይረ ኣነ ኦርቶዶክስ የተወሊደ ኣብ ትግራይ ካ ሁሉ ሃይማኖትና ንቅበል እንዲያው ኣብ ትግራይ ናይ እስላም ኤክስኪዩሽን ሃለው ቀደም ናይ ትግራይ ኦርቶዶክስ ቤተክርስቲያናት ሃይማኖታት ይብደም ብገር ሓፊዩ ተቀቢሉ ኣነጋሽን ወዓል ተመስርተሉ ንምንታይ ለእስላም መኽቢርና ኣሕዋትና ኢልና ተቀበልቲና ተቀቢልና ኢና ኣብ ትግራይ 96% አካባቢ ኦርቶዶክስ ክርስቲያን እዩ ብዓለም ቁጥሪ ሓደ ዝኾነ ብሓንቲ ሃይማኖት ብኦርቶዶክስ ኣብ ትግራይ እዩ ዘሎ ዘርኢ እዚ ከይትርስዕዎ እዚ ዘርኢ እዚ ግን ንእስላም ንኻሊእ ሃይማኖታት እውን ተቀቢሉ ሓቂፉ ዘብልዕ ዝድግፍ ዘኽብር መንነቱ እዩ እዚ ከይንስሓት እዚ እናበልኩ መዕፀዊ ሓደ ነገር ከይትርስዑ ኣብዚ ሰዓት እዚኡ አብይ አሕመድ ብኢሳያስ ይቅርታ ብሳዑዲ አረቢያ ብዩናይትድ አረብ ኤምሬት ኣብ ጎንኻ ኮይና ገንዘብ ክንሕግዘካ ኢሎም ሒዚ እውን ተኾነ ሒዚ ንህዝብና ንትግራይ ከጥፍኡ ብሃይማኖትና ድም ፀሊኦምና ብምንታይ ኣይርደአኒ ኣነ ግን ኣይነው ሳዑዲ አረቢያ ንሕኒሕ ከም ዘለቶም ናቶም ሽያር ኣሎ ናቶም ሃይማኖት ኣብ ዓለም ሙሉእ ኢምፖዝ ክገብሩ ይምክሩ እዮም እዚ ግን ኣይርደአና ኣነ ተጋሩ ግን ኣብ ዓዲ ዓረብ ይግፍዑ ከም ዘለው ሒዝካ ናብ ኣዲስ ኣበባ እናሰደዱ يقتلوهم يقرفوهم كم زلوا ناي UN وعلى زيو سبيك اب زي يقولوا المجدي خردنا يخلنيو زين كلتين هاجر جن كونيلنا تركون كم تحجزوا كم زلا تشاينا تحجزوا كم زلا ذكر الدنا له تلكالت هاجرات انا خنطف دليانا زلوا كاين رسعن كلكم كاون لعلي TDFنا او صبو درجه عايزلو ኣብ ጽቡቕ ቃልሲ እዩ ዘሎ ንጸላኢ የርግፎ የድቅሶ እዩ ዘሎ በብዝመፆ ኣካባቢታት እንታይ እዩ ንሄ ናይ TDF ኢልኩም ተሓቱ ኣሕዋት ሓት ዘለኹም ዓለም ሙሉእ እዚ እናበልኩ ኣነ ኣብ ቀረባ ግዜ እውን ሳመራይዝ ገይረ ሓድሽ ዜናታት ብዝወፀሉ ከቕርበልኩም እየ ናይ ለማዓንቲ ግን እዚ ነይሩ ሂዚ ሓደሽቲ ተኣሲሮም ዝነበሩ ተጋሩ ኣሕዋትና ኣብ ኣዲስ ኣበባ ተወሰኑ ኣብዚ ሒዚ ትማሊ ሎማዓንቲ ለቂቆ ኣሎ እዩ ካብኡ እስር ቤት ዝወፁ ተጋሩ እኒአው እዮም ብምንም ምክንያት ዘይብሉ ተኣሲሮም ዝፀንሑ ኣብ ፖለቲካ ኣትዋት ኣይኮኑ ገለ ዘይበሉ ኣብ ኣዲስ ኣበባ ዝኣረይዎም መዓት ተጋሩ ኣለው እዮም ሒዚ እንተኾነ ካብኣቶም ተወሰኑ ሂዚ ተለቂቆም ኣለው እዮም እቲ ብእንግሊዝኛ ዝበልክዎ እውን ምስቶም ናትና ጳጳስ ኣብ 11 ወርሒ ሙሉእ ገዛ እስረኛ ገይሩ ዘቐመጦም ከይዱ ኣማኺርዎም ኣሎ እዩ እዚ ምክሪ ዘማኸሮም ከዓ ዕርቂ ንክዘጋጆ ንኦም ንስኹም ኮ ናይ ኩልና ቦኢኹም ገለታት ሂዱ ኣቀባጢሩ ተኣሽሙ ክብል እዩ ንሶም ግን ዓሻ ኣይኮኑን ተስፋ ቆሪፁ እዩ ዘሎ ቦኦም ምክንያቱ ክዕሽ ናይ ሃይማኖት ሰብ ስኢድካ ጭበሪርካ ሓሲኻ ኣይቕበለካን እዩ ስለዚዩ ህዝብና እናተሓረደ ህዝብና እናተቐተለ ንጳጳስ ንማንም ትግራዋይ ኣጭበርቢርካ ኣይተምልጥን ኢኻ ስለዚዩ ንሕና ተጋሩ ዓለም ሙሉእ ዘለኹም ኣሕዋተይ ብከምዚ ተኸታተልኩም ክብረት ይሃበለይ ይብለኩም ይቕኒየለይ ኣብ ቀፃሊ ግዜ እስካብ ንራኸብ ጠንክሩ ሂወትኩም ተኸናኸንዋ ኤክሰርሳይዝ ስፖርት እናሰራሕኩም ፅቡቅ ምግብታት እናበላዕኩም ትግራይ ትፅበየና ዘላ ንዓና ብዙሕ ነገር ስለ ዘሎ ስራሕ ኣብ ቅድሚት እዚ ንክንሰርሕ ግን ሂወትና ተኸናኺልና መስመርና ተይረሳዕና ዓርሲ ብዓርስና እናተሓቋቐፍና ዓርሲ ብዓርስና ድማ እናተጣያየቕና ከመይነኺ ሓፍተይ ከመይነኺ ሓወይ እናተባሃልና ደሃይና ኣይንጣፋፋእ ብቴክስት ማሰጅ ድዩ ብማሰንጀር ድዩ ንሕና ድሕሪ ዝተጋሩ ዓርሲ ብዓርስና ክንዘኻኸር ኣለና ዓርሲ ብዓርስና እንታይ ኮይኑ እኒሄ ዝሓወይ እንታይ ኮይና እኒያ ዝሓፍተይ እናበልና ክንረዳእ ኣድላይ እዩ እዚ ድማ ተስፋ ወዲ ሰብ ብጣዕሚ ሞራል ዓብይ ደጀን እዩ ሞራል ንወሃሃብ ንደጋገፍ ምድግጋፍ ማለት ስለ ገንዘብ ዝሃዝና ስለ ካሊእ ዝገበርና ጥራይ ኣይኮነን እኮ ምድግጋፍ ማለት ከመይ እኒኻ ሓፍተይ ከመይ እኒኻ ሓወይ እንታይ እኒ ሓድሽ ነገር ናይ ዓድና ነገር ኩሉ ግዜ ነውግዕ ይርድአኒ ግን ካሊእ ካብኡ እውን ፍልይ እናበልና ሓደ ነገር ሕውስ እናበልና ንግዚኡ ሂወትና ክነጥንክር ኣለና ስፖርት ክንሰርሕ ኣለና ኣክቲቭ ክንከውን ኣለና እዚ እናበልኩ ሆፕፉሊ እቲ ሳይበር እውን ሸር ትገብርዎ ኣለኹም ኢለ ይግምት እየ ክንዓቢ ክንገዝፍ ድማ ምክርኩም የድልየና እዩ ኤኒታይም ዝደለኹም ሓሳባት ብዙ ፖስት ተገበርኩም ብካሊእ ሶሻል ሚዲያታት እውን ያው ሚኪ ትግራይ ኣብ ፌስቡክ እውን ኣለኹ እየ እዚ ሚድያ ግን ብሳይበር ነውፅኦ ዘለና ብሚድያ ከምዚ ክንዓቢ ከምዚ ንህዝብና ንሃገርና ሰርቪስ ማለት ስራሕ ንክንሰርሕ ምሳኹም ኮይና እቲ ዝጎደለና እዚ እዩ እናበልኩም ተማዓድኩምና ተመኸርኩምና ንኣና የጥንክረና ንኣና የልምዐና እምበር ድሕሪት ኣይምልሰናን እዚ እዩ ነይሩ እቲ ናይ ሎማዓንቲ ሓሳባት ሒዘልኩም ዝቐረብኩ ብደንቢ ጌርኩም ስለተኸታተልኩምኒ ብትሕትና ይቕኒየለይ ክብረት ይሃበለይ እናበልኩ ብዘለኹም ዓለም ሙሉእ ያው ፅቡቅ ዓወታት ዜናታት ኣብ ቀረባ ግዜ የስምዐና TDFና ድማ ንዘለኣለም ይንበሩልና እናበልኩ በዚኣ ፕሮግራም ናይ ሎማዓንቲ ይጨርሽ ኣለኹ ክብረት ይሃበለይ